Prime Minister Robin Nabanja commissions vaccine center in Kampala, while General Lwelu apologizes over army police officer altercation. And Uganda prisons dismisses allegations of a TB outbreak in the prisons. Hello once again, I'm Rhoda Ngonzi on sign language, Elizabeth Nakokoni. Let's dig into it. President of the United Republic of Tanzania, Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, has today concluded her two-day state visit to Uganda with a tour of Roofing's Limited factory in Namamve Industrial Park. President Suluhu had earlier addressed a business meeting organized by the Private Sector Foundation at Serena Hotel in Kampala. President Yoweri Museveni this afternoon saw off the President of Tanzania after a successful two-day state visit to Uganda. President Suluhu thanked President Museveni for hosting her and her delegation, saying that she had a fruitful and positive visit. And before her departure, President Samia Suluhu Hassan attended a petroleum stakeholders engagement where Tanzania and Uganda governments shared progress on the oil pipeline. As Ivan Kawa reports, Uganda and Tanzania envisage to involve enterprises into the petroleum industry if barriers are removed. Uganda registers Tanzania's companies in its database, but Tanzania does not, and this needs to be fixed. Let's take a look at that.
Uganda and Tanzania have shared the progress of the petroleum sector to chart a way forward on how to gain from bilateral engagements between the two countries.
This all shows the commitment of these two countries under their presidents to make sure that we continue sharing what we have.
Uganda is implementing a joint plan where national participation needs to be aligned to involve enterprises and companies in the sector.
The database in Uganda welcomes and allows companies from Tanzania to register on the database. We currently have a small challenge because the Ugandan companies are not yet allowed to register on the database in Tanzania. And we think this needs to be cleared.
Petroleum Regulatory Authority is in place to oversee the management of resources, safety and environment, as well as regulations of costs and tariffs.
And we are all aware that for East African crude oil pipeline, a tariff has been agreed in advance of $12.77 per barrel.
Both Uganda and Tanzania are participating in the realization of the East African crude oil pipeline. Uganda is also working on the conclusion of formalities for land acquisition and compensation to give way for the East African crude oil pipeline project. Uganda has so far compensated 20% of project-affected persons, while Tanzania has completed the acquisition and compensation of 14 key priority areas.
We have been issued the right of occupancy as of to date, and last month we signed a land lease agreement with ECOP. Today what we are doing some awareness to the corridor. 2,740 acres of land are expected to be acquired for ECOP. This land has 3,792 project-affected persons. The company is progressing to acquire this land.
Uganda and Tanzania bilateral engagements will go a long way to benefit citizens if all barriers of doing businesses are eliminated. This is the reason President Samia Suluhu Hassan has pledged to fix the challenges. Ivan Kahwa, UBC News in Kampala.
What is it called? The campsite? Eh? This is
Yes.
We apologize for that. Also, President Samia Suluhu of the United Republic of Tanzania paid a courtesy call to Roofing's Rolling Mills complex in Namamve Industrial Park. Her visit to one of the biggest exporters of finished products to Tanzania was lauded by the business community, who had an opportunity to showcase the country's export potential and also highlight some of the barriers to trade.
Taxpayer in Uganda's steel sector with a turnover of 240,000 metric tons per annum. It's also the biggest exporter of finished steel products to the United Republic of Tanzania. It's on this backdrop that President Samia Suluhu Hassan paid a courtesy call to the plant in Namamve and interacted with the investors and private sector players.
Everyone who is in one way or another is concerned on investment in Tanzania. They are all here and they have seen what is inside this factory, because Mzee showed us the work, the value of the factory, and he even told us the markets.
According to Skandal Alani, the managing director of Roofings Group, the company has strong business relations with Tanzania.
We are having continuous cordial business relationship with the business community in Tanzania. The port of Mwanza, the port of Dar es Salaam, and the railway of Central Corridor have a significant importance in as far as our trading activity between the Republic of Uganda and the United Republic of Tanzania is concerned.
With more collaboration and support, the trade ties will continue to flourish.
Uganda has a deposit of over 300 million iron ore and the parts of Chigezi, and we are trying to work hard to work with the Republic of Tanzania to see if we can export coal to be able to smelt our iron ore into steel. And Roofings Limited is at the center of making sure that this happens.
However, concerns were raised on the cost of transportation, state of infrastructure, and investment opportunities in Tanzania. Nonetheless, President Suluhu vowed to tackle the challenges impeding trade in order to fully harness the Uganda-Tanzania business potential.
I would like to have this type of factory in Tanzania, in our country. And please be our guest. And I was telling Mzee, tell me the requirements, what you need for us to start preparing. So when you come, everything is ready and we get into the business.
She also reiterated her commitment to support the private sector as an economic growth and development engine, not only for Tanzania, but Uganda as well. Dennis Igoa for UBC News.
Now, the Prime Minister, Robina Nabbanja, has commissioned a world-class vaccines access center in Ntinda, Kampala. The center, a private sector initiative, aims at easing access to not only COVID-19 vaccination, but also other killer diseases across the country. While opening the center, the Prime Minister commended private sector for supporting government's efforts in the fight against diseases.
This is the facility that has been constructed by the private practitioners in the health sector in Kampala's suburb of Ntinda in just 9 months. Inside has a world-class capacity to store vaccines of up to 15 million doses. and also has a capacity to vaccinate at least 4,000 people in a single day. All these responses by private sector are to supplement government's efforts towards COVID-19 fight in the country.
The vaccines were too few that they could not reach everyone in the required time. And most countries prioritized their own, one, the rich countries, two, that country which is manufacturing the vaccine. And it was so hard to access vaccines. So we sat down and said, but we have so many partnerships out there. We have been working with these manufacturers. Can't we also support the government by putting pressure on them to see how we can get more vaccines to Uganda? So that's how vaccine access was born. So we said, let's form an organization and call it Vaccine Access Initiative.
The vaccination services here will be at a free cost except the surcharge fee that will be set by the Ministry of Health. Although its major focus is still on COVID-19 vaccination, according to the officials here, this facility will later support vaccination of all diseases, including manufacturing of vaccines local here in Uganda.
Right, Honorable, in maybe in the next 6 months, we will look for you, Right, Honorable, to come and launch a vaccine manufacturing plant. Vaccines will be manufactured from here in Uganda. We are at 70% completion of the facility. So we are headed very soon to NDA for certification. We are headed to apply for WHO inspections. All these we estimate in 6 months we should be able to finish. And the first vaccine will be polio. On behalf of government, to commission this facility in the name of the Father.
At the commissioning of the facility, the Prime Minister Rhoda Ngonzi commended the private sector for supporting government's efforts in the fight against diseases.
The Vaccine Access Initiative symbolizes the strengthening of private and public partnership efforts. This is what the President has always been talking about. Government is determined to make sure that we use every effort to ensure that many Ugandans get the COVID-19 vaccine in order to prevent any possible resurgence of infections.
The Premier also commended President Museveni for his support towards private sector, especially those in the health sector and in innovation.
More especially the wise and timely decisions. You know, a president must make decisions. That's why this country needs a president who is sober 24 hours. My brothers and sisters have been near the fire these days. You don't need a president that is not sober 24 hours, I'm telling you.
Philip Aguta, UBC News in Kampala.
His Majesty the Kabaka of Uganda, Ronald Muwenda Mutebi II, will appear before the public on Friday 13th May to close the Uganda Women's Conference in Mengo at Mengo Palace. This was announced by the Katikkiro of Uganda, Charles Peter Mayiga, during a press conference held at Bulange Mengo.
Uganda has organized a women's conference scheduled to take place on Friday 13th May 2022, where the Kabaka of Uganda, Ronald Muwenda Mutebi II, is to appear before his subjects while closing the conference.
Sabasajja Kabaka will close the women's conference that is going to take place in the Mengo Palace on Friday. We are particularly happy that after a long spell, the first time that the Kabaka will appear before his people will be in the women's conference.
Maiga invited Ugandans to flock the event at Mengo Palace come the 3rd of July, where the Kabaka will flag off runners for the Kabaka birthday run and birthday celebrations to be held on the 10th July 2022.
We all know he was born on the 13th of April, but he wasn't in the country like I told you. Now that he's back, we shall celebrate his birthday on the 10th.
The Katikkiro of Buganda also used the occasion to appreciate the subjects of Buganda for their unwavering support during his 9-year tenure.
I would like to express my appreciation to members of the press because you've been able, you've effectively disseminated information regarding the work we've tried to carry out in the last 9 years, my colleagues and I. Like I told you on the 28th of December when we met in Butikiro, if the press corps don't inform the public about our programs, then the public won't know them. And if the public can't know our programs, then the public can't carry out the programs we want them to carry out. So, when I'm in this office, I'm very glad to work with members of the press. I appreciate your work. And I think you should be allowed to enjoy your full freedoms.
Brian Tumwinebiaruhanga, Andrew Sebira, UBC News.
And the leadership of the Uganda People's Defence Forces has described as unacceptable the recent manhandling by its officers of a traffic police officer on duty. Deputy Chief of Defence Forces General Peter Elwelu, who promises action, has distanced the institution of the UPDF from such errant individual officers' behaviour. Elwelu, who regretted the incident, echoed this on the floor of Parliament, where Deputy Speaker Thomas Tayewa hinted on having police and prisons represented in the House.
Whether in parade practice or band section, police, army and prison officers are always seen performing national duties together. This spirit of togetherness could soon vanish if the behavior by army officers towards members of the other forces does not change. The latest incident is seen in this video recently captured somewhere in Kampala, Uganda's capital city. The concern has found its way on the floor of the country's parliament.
Some of us who are mere civilians, when we see uniform against uniform, they usually call it friendly fire, but I don't know whether that was a friendly fire. So we are following up this matter as presiding officers, because you see sometimes it's not about how many statements we make here, but the concrete action are followed up.
Leadership of the Uganda People's Defence Forces is apologetic. General Peter Elwelu, who regrets the incident, is the Deputy Chief of Defence Forces, also representing Army in Parliament.
On behalf of UPDF, to sincerely apologize to the police and to this House and the people of Uganda for whatever happened. And I know some of those incidents have been happening and they are regrettable.
It is a concern that has not rubbed members of Parliament the right way, prompting Deputy Speaker of Parliament Thomas Tayewa to suggest police representation in Parliament.
Military police, Mr. Speaker, is the army supposed to discipline other armies, the infantry. And before 1990, you could never see the army military police coming on the street to cause mayhem or attack people. That's why in Machindi, people have been living there are in harmony with these people. What's happening here now, right now, Speaker, is impunity growing day by day.
We are going to bring it to the attention of the Commander-in-Chief and the President, because issues of armed forces, they have a historical perspective and background on why some decisions are taken the way they are taken. But I think it's high time police and prisons go to representatives in this House.
However, some members of Parliament do not buy this idea.
Why it will not solve the problem is because there's a clash in roles, the role of UPDF and the role of police in respect to internal security. What he should do is condemn the action of the army men and demand that the CDF, the army establishment, look for those errant officers and bring them to book.
And us as a committee, by the way, we have picked interest. And when we meet with them, these are some of the things that we shall handle with regard to undermining other forces.
The extent to which this will solve the standoff, only time will tell. Henry Okrut, UBC.
Meanwhile, Parliament has designated tomorrow, Thursday, as the day to debate on the poor state of roads and a way forward on how to address the financial hiccups delaying maintenance and upgrade of roads across the country. This follows concerns by sections of members of Parliament over the increasingly worsening state of most roads and delays by Ministry of Finance to disperse funds to Uganda National Roads Authority.
Who is concerned with the administration of Uganda Road Fund?
The problem is with finance. Finance should tell us why they have not released money. Contractors have laid down the tools.
A number of roads across the country are covered with potholes following torrential rains that hit the country. During today's plenary sitting, a section of legislators were concerned over the poor state of roads and the silence of the concerned parties.
Contractors in the road sector has not been released. Over 160 billion. They have not been paid. That's why we're suffering like this.
The matter put the Minister of Finance on spot for allegedly suppressing the performance of Uganda Road Fund. Legislators blame the Minister for delayed disbursement of funds meant for maintenance and the upgrade of roads.
Also, if you see the local contractors at the district level, they're complaining about the money. They said they're not paying. So I need the Minister for Finance, Planning, Administration to come out to give us the reports why they're not paying the contractors.
Finance has not released money to UNRWA, so they are not working. So the Minister of Finance should be the one to be summoned here to explain to this House why.
The State Minister for Roads, Musa Chweru, however, informed the House that the Minister of Works met line bodies to discuss on the way forward.
Level at very advanced stages to see how best we could unfreeze particularly critical resources for maintaining the very critical roads that are now impassable in the country.
It's alleged that government owes Uganda Road Fund billions of money for the past works done. Parliament has now set tomorrow, Thursday, a special sitting to discuss matters concerning the poor state of roads and how to address the issue.
The road from Chizinda to Mitoma, my area, I can't go. We are discussing the road fund in full. Okay? Tomorrow, colleagues, come when you're ready.
The recent rise in road carnage has been attributed to the poor state of roads, pending maintenance and upgrade. Susan Naong and Gloria Guitabinji reporting for ABC TV.
Meanwhile, Parliament is yet to adopt the report of the Select Committee set aside to investigate the alleged mismanagement of over 30 billion shillings spent for the COVID-19 vaccine development in Uganda. In November last year, the then Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, set aside the ad hoc committee to investigate claims brought to the attention of the House by Ntungamo Municipality Member of Parliament, Yona Musingozi. Parliament has set Tuesday next week to debate the final findings of the report presented by Choma Xavier, who chairs the Select Committee.
The discussion of the alleged misuse of 31 billion shillings meant for the COVID-19 vaccine development is back, as the Select Committee set aside to investigate the matter presented its findings to the whole House.
The committee strongly recommends that Preside be disbanded and its funding channeled through NRIP.
Xavier Akampurira Choma, the Ibanda County North Member of Parliament, who was selected to chair the Select Committee, presented numerous recommendations to Parliament regarding the matter, which was fronted by Ntungamo Municipality Member of Parliament Yona Musinguzi, claiming that Dr. Monica Musenero, the chairperson of the Presidential Scientific Initiative for Epidemics, acted contrary to her roles.
Presided did not account to Mosti for funds advanced projects. Several reminders were sent by the Permanent Secretary Mosti. The chairperson presides to provide accountability for funds disbursed, but all in vain.
Despite its recognition of the need to promote a pathogen economy, the ad hoc committee recommends that, among others, presidential directives should be implemented following the laws of the land. Government should prioritize the already existing institutions to foster science, research and innovation than creating preside. And Dr. Monica Musenero be relieved of some of her duties as the chairperson of Preside, Senior Presidential Advisor on Epidemics, and at the same time Minister for Science and Technology.
The roles of Preside can adequately be covered under the National Research and Innovation Program framework, supported by NO and the Uganda National Council of Science and Technology Act, with research institutions already part of UNRO. They only required funding to drive their strategic plans forward.
Preside was merged, so there is no chairperson of Preside.
Was merged with?
STI, the Science, Technology and
Innovation. So in short, we no longer have Preside?
No, we don't have Preside.
Okay.
Dr. Musenero, who welcomed the report, asked to be accorded more time and digest the findings before she addresses Parliament.
I also wish the House to note that the committee was looking into work 2020-2021. So many of the things have changed.
I know the rules of procedure. To censure a minister, we need signatures. I have already drafted papers. I pray that you all append your signatures and we censure this minister today and not tomorrow.
The session, chaired by the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Thomas Tayebwa, referred the matter to Tuesday next week for a debate to ascertain its fate.
We shouldn't be seen to have fast reports when we are not fair.
Daniel Mugoya, Gloria Gutabinji, UBC News.
Now, Uganda Prisons has dismissed claims of a tuberculosis outbreak in Kalangala district prisons by some media outlets as wild allegations. The Commissioner of Health Uganda Prisons, Dr. James Kisambo, says that they visited their facilities, or the prison's facilities, on 10th May this month and confirmed that there were no active cases of tuberculosis.
Been media reports indicating an outbreak of tuberculosis in Kalangala district prisons. However, the Commissioner of Health Prisons denies the reports, saying that no case has been registered.
No single TB case. And the same applies to Mukoye. We found about 40 prisoners and no single TB case. The whole of that region falls under Masaka region, and the whole region that has 30 prison facilities has only 7 active TB cases as of now.
Kisambu acknowledges that there is need to sensitize the public on TB and equip the health system.
10 gene expert machines located around the country. Those are not enough. We need more. We need to have a gene expert at least at every single one of the 16 regions. We have a major lab, but better still, each of the 30 labs should have a gene expert machine.
Oh, well, with that, we take a quick break. When we return, more details. This is News Tonight.
Jennifer, Jukila, Rewagamba, I don't have waka. You passed the ice through me about my waka. Now come and see for yourself, see my waka that I got with Momo Nyabo. Jangola be waka, look at you waka.
deposit 20K or more on your mobile money for a chance to win 3 Toyota Succeeds and money to 2,000 lucky winners every week. We're giving away 24 cars and over 2 billion shillings of mobile money.
Mirinda.
Grab yourself an ice-cold bottle of Mirinda Orange at any shop or supermarket near you. Mirinda Orange, the taste that makes you go ORNG.
Even with my grandson, a doctor at my side, I struggled to get the help I needed. But he saw something that day. He began to work day and night. He wouldn't quit, even when people said no. He wouldn't stop fighting. He knew something had to change, and his vision was bigger than anyone could imagine. He made it possible to receive quality medical services anywhere in Uganda by simply using a phone.
This is a story of a regular Ugandan just like you, who harnessed the power of technology to provide a solution for us. How about you tell us your story? UG needs more of you. To share your story, visit airtel.co.ug/UG needs more of you or call or SMS 162. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Football packages, great entertainment,
Sports, the local content, telenovela, the movies. There is something for everybody. Go TV, this is where great stories live.
Get the best entertainment for any budget. With GoTV, you will have great entertainment for as little as 13,000 Ugandan shillings per month. GoTV, great stories, Zidiwano. GoTV Uganda, love it.
Beat the back-to-school hustle today. Pay school fees conveniently using Airtel Money. Dial *185#. Select option 6, school fees.
Select to pay using Bridge Schools, School Pay or Beg Pay.
Select option 1, pay fees. Enter student number. Enter the amount. Enter the PIN number to complete payment. Airtel Money, instant, secure, borderless.
Welcome back. This is still News Tonight. State House Anti-Corruption Unit has caused the arrest of 4 civil servants of Kasese District Local Government over alleged mismanagement of funds, including 50 million shillings startup for the town council. The arrested include Muhindo Margaret, the Chief Finance Officer, Rugomia Robert, Senior Assistant Town Clerk, Chinamasake Training Center, Hudu Yusuf Ndugu, the cashier, and Robert Lalobo, the Senior Assistant Mechanical Engineer.
Some of Kasese District local government officials have been arrested for alleged mismanagement of funds and assets. The Chief Finance Officer, Muhindo Margaret, is accused of continued reduction of 5% remittance from the revenue collection of every sub-county, purportedly for LC4s, which are no longer in existence. The regional police spokesperson, Rwenzori East, Kao Ismail, said Rugomia Robert, the former town clerk, Mobuku town council, together with his treasurer, then Hudu Yusuf Ndungu, are accused of mismanagement of 50 million shillings startup fund for the town council.
Officer Kasese was arrested in respect to the unlawful collection and the mismanagement of revenues remitted by sub-counties in the guise of facilitating local council force.
While Robert Lalobo, the Senior Assistant Mechanical Engineer, failed to account for 1 government vehicle. According to ASP Kao Ismail, the 4 are currently detained at Rwenzori East Police Station as investigations continue.
Arrested in respect to the mismanagement of startup funds totaling to Uganda shillings 50 million made from Mobuku Town Council. Mr. Monson, on which these revenues are deposited, are managed by CAO, CFO as joint signatories.
Ismail adds that after investigations are done, the suspects will be produced in courts of law depending on the findings.
Are done. Those who shall find that they are culpable, we shall forward them to court to answer those charges against them. Those will be found innocent will be released.
And the COVID-19 pandemic affected various aspects of businesses world over, Uganda inclusive. Traders renting in commercial buildings, including arcades and shopping malls in Kampala City, have suffered the COVID-19 post-effects. Now, the state has played its role by putting a number of interventions as sectors slowly recover from a number of effects.
There's renting commercial buildings, including arcades and shopping malls in Kampala City, have suffered the burden of COVID-19 post-challenges and are able to pay for their monthly rent even during these post-COVID recovery times. Such demands, plus other harsh conditions required for renting residential and commercial properties, have for years caused fights between tenants and landlords.
Abalandodi baffe abamu batusonyiwa lenti abamu bamutusonyiwa ate ebizimbe ebirala naye nga tebabasonyiwa kisinza ekizimbe kyewali okolerako ne landiroodiwo nefe
ebintu bya lenti kati byafuuse ebizibu kati saawa eno buli myezi gya lenti omwezi ogwa Meyi gutuuse baagala lenti naye tetunnaba kumufuna olw'ensonga nti abakasitoma batono abantu baavu tebalina ssente. Embeera si ya mulembe yeeyitiridde ate esusseeko n'emabega wali eri.
Other factors include increments of rent rates by landlords not sparing the wallets of tenants who have been left without any choice but to accept the terms or vacate the premises.
So some of us who were reasonable sat down with our tenants and agreed on installment payments to enable them continue operating in our buildings. Instead of locking their premises, we agreed that let us waive some portion of rent and at least be in a position to pay up front for the next 1 or 2 months, and we have the continuity. So this has helped in the long run, and our tenants are now stabilizing.
Even with these tough conditions, many other people would still line up to occupy such prime premises.
But people who hire offices are very few, and shop owners fear to take their businesses in the upper levels because clients take long to go up to look for their products. They tend to stop on the ground floors. So you find in many buildings that the upper levels are empty.
Similarly, some tenants have vacated rented properties at will, leaving landlords to incur costs of maintenance and repair to make the property habitable for prospective tenants. Sandra Kahunde, Joel Vubia, UBC News.
Meanwhile, private partners have launched a national charity supporting campaign for persons with spinal cord disabilities. The campaign is seeking to get government support as they strive to ensure all spinal cord injured people receive the specialist treatment, care and rehabilitation needed to be fully integrated and empowered participants of society.
Spinal cord injury is largely unknown. The estimated incidence of spinal cord is 8.8% in Uganda, with 12.4% being children. Sarah Nazwa says she goes through a lot of hardship due to the social structure, limited health facilities, and reliance on family to take care for her.
Kibitegeeza oba olina ofuna omuntu alina okusitulako buli wamu okutwala ne woba olina oyagala olaga nga walako oba tosobola kuba tolina wheelchair oba ogenda afuna obuzibu bw'amaanyi nnyo.
A number of spinal cord injured persons die within their first year of injury, due to trauma.
Our government to start looking at things differently, looking at such wheelchairs that are taxable and other needs that people with disabilities really need to come into the country so that most of us can really be covered.
News when a little girl in Kaberamaido does not have a wheelchair, which is the principal role of government to provide for that child a wheelchair, who crawls to school every day. That's news. So I pray to the media that please you start to look at these issues as positive and they can be juicy.
Lichi Hand Uganda, Light for the World, and Spinal Cord Injury Support Society have launched a campaign to support persons with spinal cord injuries.
Look at poverty. Again, I was looking at the statistics of 2014 when they last did the census. For 2013, it was about 19.7%. Currently, it's 28%. Now, what is the thing about poverty and disability? It has a cause and sort of like consequence sort of like relationship.
Unfavorable employment opportunities for persons with disability, the selective, rather discriminatory education system, the healthcare system does not accommodate persons with disability. So we are saying we're not simply lamenting, but we are demanding for what the law practically provides for persons with disability.
Private partners have called upon the government to enact appropriate laws which accommodate inclusiveness of persons with disabilities. Mutesa Sira Haruna, UBC News.
Meanwhile, Minister of State for Gender, Labour and Social Development in charge of Labour, Employment and Industrial Relations, Kano Okello Ngola, has cautioned employers, especially those in factories and industries, against violating the workers' rights. The minister was inspecting sugar factories in Jinja and Wikwa districts in eastern Uganda.
Uganda has rich laws relating to the protection of workers' rights, like the Employment Act of 2006 and Occupational Safety and Health Act of 2006 and Employment Regulations of 2011. All these provide for the enforcement of legal provisions of the laws relating to working conditions of workers. It is against this background that the Minister of State for Gender, Labour and Social Development in charge of Labour, Employment and Industrial Relations, Kano Okello Ngola, embarked on an inspection tour to the sugar factories in Jinja and Wikwe districts in eastern Uganda. The inspection checklist includes total workforce in terms of males and females, terms of service, NSSF contributions, medical insurance, workers' compensation, wages, provision of meals, and safety and health standards.
And write to all the factories on what bad things I have found out.
Minister Ngola was, however, impressed with the level at which the production of sugar is growing in the country.
The production is okay, and I'm going to investigate again now why the price of sugar is high.
Our production is 3,000 tons, okay, per day. However, the company is trying to enlarge its capacity so that it can, crush all the sugarcane of the farmers.
Sugar factory owners also pointed out the challenges they face, including high power tariffs and land wrangles.
Government to subsidize or to lower, to give us special rates to enable us produce sugar at a lower cost.
People go to Entebbe, get microfilms, and they start going to the Administrator General, say this land belonged to us in the year 1900.
Uganda is a member of the International Labour Organization and has ratified the International Labour Organization Convention number 081 on labour inspection.
And the influx of people in Bulisa due to the discovery of oil and gas has compelled leaders to ask the central government to construct more hospitals and health centre force. During the handover ceremony of an outpatient facility at Avogera Health Centre, Member of Parliament, Bulisa County, Alana Tugonza, said this will help reduce the hurdles locals face to access treatment at Hoima Regional Referral Hospital.
Total Energies EP Uganda, in partnership with Bulisa District Local Government, have revamped and equipped the outpatient facility of Avogera Health Center 3 in Gwendo Sub-County, Bulisa District, with an ultra machine, oxygen masks and kits, assortment of drugs, beds, and more importantly, a theatre. Marion Muyobo, the head of social affairs, Total Energies EP Uganda, said that the outpatient department was reconstructed in response to a critical need for access to improved health care.
Changing lives, impacting positively the lives, especially of the communities within which these activities are undertaken.
During the handover of the facility, authorities in Bulisa District asked central government to construct for them more hospitals and health center 4s to cater for the increasing population coming as a result of oil and gas activities. The woman member of Parliament Bulisa, Nora Bigira, says the district needs more hospitals to handle the rising population.
The influx of people stretching that side of Kigwe. So we are praying and requesting government and the Ministry of Health in particular to ensure that these facilities are elevated from where they are to better facilities, because right now there is need for an emergency ward that is lacking, though we have the emergency equipment to take care of the patients that are in there in need of facilities. We need an operating theatre.
Alana Tugonza, the Bulisa County Member of Parliament, urged government to build 3 more hospitals in the district, emphasizing the need to reduce on the hurdles that the locals have been going through to get treatment.
Being a plus, it has really boosted our infrastructure at this health center. Equally, it is with the equipment that we have been given. This kind of movement of our people, community from Bulisa to Hoima and other hospitals, I think will end.
The District Health Officer, Bulisa Nelson Nasisye, and Stephen Biaruhanga Mfasingano, the Resident District Commissioner, Bulisa, explains that as a district, they have a big number of challenges, especially in the area of primary health care.
You prioritize the recruitment of askaris so that these people can secure this investment that is provided by Total and the government.
Is an ultrasound machine. This will go a long way in helping our mothers who are delivering have their babies tested and monitored to ensure they are alive and viable.
Even with my grandson, a doctor at my side, I struggled to get the help I needed. But he saw something that day. He began to work day and night. He wouldn't quit, even when people said no. He wouldn't stop fighting. He knew something had to change, and his vision was bigger than anyone could imagine. He made it possible to receive quality medical services anywhere in Uganda by simply using a phone.
This is a story of a regular Ugandan just like you, who harnessed the power of technology to provide a solution for us. How about you tell us your story? UG needs more of you. To share your story, visit airtel.co.ug/UG needs more of you or call or SMS 162. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Water gives life. Water is life. But not all water is created equal. Refresh yourself with the new quality Nirvana packaged drinking water and fuel you and your passion to go further in life.
Visit a shop near you and grab a 250 ml at 500 shillings, 500 ml at 1,000 shillings, 1.5 liters at 2,000 shillings, or the 20 liter jumbo bottle at 19,000 shillings. Nirvana is a product of Crown Beverages Limited, the makers of Pepsi products.
Jennifer, Jukira, Rewagamba, I don't have waka. You passed the eyes through me about my waka. Now come and see for yourself, see my waka that I got with Momo Nyabo. Jangola be waka, look at you waka, see my waka.
Simply deposit 20k or more on your mobile money for a chance to win 3 Toyota Succeeds and money to 2,000 lucky winners every week. We're giving away 24 cars and over 2 billion shillings of mobile money.
And on business news, Uganda Fintech users are told not to worry about the imminent suspension of World Remit operations in the country. This follows the announcement by World Remit that it will cease its operations in Uganda by the 6th of June this year. Stephen Kaboyo, the managing director of Alpha Capital Forex, believes other service providers have the capacity to fill the gap.
World money transfer service provider World Remit announcement to suspend some operations in Uganda has left many fintech users skeptical of their future money transfers.
Understood as World Remit getting out of Uganda, it's not actually true when you understand where they're basing their decisions and the emphasis that they're actually going to remain on the inward. So that needs to be understood.
Stephen Kaboyo, a fintech's expert and former director, financial markets, Bank of Uganda, gives an insight on what World Remit exit means to Uganda and its users.
It is a small fraction of what we get as a country, what we receive in terms of remittances of Ugandans working abroad. As you know, we export labor now. That is a huge class or category of money senders into this economy. Compared to outflows.
Kaboyo believes that development of local fintechs is mounting much pressure on foreign competitors, some of whom might be forced to close shop or merge.
I've seen mobile money as a very prominent digital channel that has taken quite a bit of retail end payments, sending of retail end payments. So mobile money in itself has actually changed the landscape. Now, a global remitter, service provider like World Remit, will find it very difficult to compete in the retail end of the market with mobile money.
The decision is believed to be more economic, and the service provider is to concentrate on the inflow of money than outward movement of money for better returns.
I want to discount that that actually it is not based on violation and money laundering regulations. It's really a business case.
From 6th June this year, World Remit will not accept any new money transfers or airtime top-ups from Uganda. Abdul Nasser Lubwama, UBC Business.
Be a
Alert! Do not share your Airtel Money PIN number with anyone. Airtel Uganda employees will never ask for your Airtel Money PIN number on call, SMS, or by email. All SIM card registrations, SIM card verifications, or SIM swaps are done at clearly branded Airtel shops and not on phone. To report any fraudulent activity, please call 100 immediately. The official calling number for Airtel promotions is 0200 100 100. Stay alert on Airtel Money. Instant, secure, borderless.
Now in sports, National Council of Sports General Secretary Dr. Patrick Bernard Ogwell has applauded Ndeje University for supplementing government efforts in education and, more importantly, sports. It was during his visit to the institution that government has committed a state-of-the-art sports complex.
Pursuit to improve its sports stock has been boosted by the visit of National Council of Sports General Secretary Dr. Bernard Patrick Ogwell. This comes at a time when the university is in advanced stages of constructing an $8.5 million state-of-the-art sports facility.
We are looking at having a standard swimming pool, having the courts, various sports, ball games, have the track, athletics, and the list. And that work was costed at $8.5 million. This is slightly above 30 billion Uganda shillings. And this figure is not new. Those of you who have been reading the news, it has been well quoted by the press. And this is the same budget that was presented to His Excellency, the President of Uganda. And unfortunately, he granted the go-ahead and gave the clear instruction, the Minister of Finance, Honorable Matia Kasaija, in the presence of the Permanent Secretary.
To Dr. Ogwell, Ndeje University merits getting the sports complex and promises to lobby on its behalf, but reminds administration on government protocols, especially where funds are concerned.
From different presenters, but to appeal to the university to ensure that you keep the trust of government in ensuring that you make your plans, strategic development plan, in line with the national development plan of this country. And if you do it that way, it will prioritize you in our resource allocations for the need that will come that addresses national development plan, which will only fit in your plan as a university. Number two is to give accountability. Accountability should not be asked. You should be able to provide reports as and when is necessary.
The university's Vice Chancellor, Professor Eria Blugujo, is proud of the achievements of the university that have raised its stake in Uganda.
This year we are celebrating 30 years of Ndeje University. The whole year is for celebrating. You can imagine your success is an addition to that success. Ndeje was the first private university to be set up in Uganda. The first. There was no private education, higher education in Uganda.
The latest achievement is winning the National Handball and Volleyball League crowns, for which the institution is preparing to represent Uganda on the continent. Ndeje University's Luwero campus will be venue for the 2022 East African University Games in December, at which more than 30 institutions are expected at the Games to cost about 5.6 billion Uganda shillings. John Barnes, Centam, reporting.
And Uganda has been drawn alongside Burundi, Rwanda, Djibouti and Djibouti in the Group A for the upcoming CECAFA Women's Championship. During the draw held in Kenya, Tanzania, Zanzibar, South Sudan and Ethiopia were put in Group B for the championship scheduled to start on 22nd May in Uganda. This is the second time that Uganda hosts this championship and will expect to benefit from the FUFA Technical Center home advantage to conquer the region. Crested Cranes will also be hoping for a great outing as a precursor to the Women's Africa Cup of Nations, where Burundi is the other East African nation that represents at the tournament in Morocco. Uganda Crested Cranes had a head coach George Lutalo already summoned his squad of 47, from which he will choose first for CECAFA and then for AFCON in July. Well, let's take a look at the top stories for tonight. Suluhu back home after a 2-day state visit in Uganda. Prime Minister Robina Nabanja commissions vaccine center in Kampala. While General Elwelu apologizes over Army police officer altercation. And Uganda prisons dismisses allegations of a TB outbreak in the prisons. Well, thank you for sticking with us throughout the hour. Elizabeth Nakakoni, our sign language interpreter. I am Rhoda Ngonzi. Have yourselves a lovely night.
Thanks for tuning on ABC. My name is Tessa Mili with your weather update. We are still experiencing light thunder showers most parts of the country, and by 9 a.m. this morning we had a high of 3.4 millimeters of rainfall across Mubende, Kasese with 1 millimeters, Entebbe, Jinjantoro with light rainfall. Seeing tomorrow morning, we expect to wake up with light thunder showers across lake showers, but the rest of the country to experience sunny intervals. But afternoon hours, I expect a pickup of showers in most parts of the country. Temperature to raise up to 30 degrees of maximum across the northern part of our country towards the west, 26 across our capital city Kampala, and 23 in Kabale Highlands. He is moving out of Uganda. We are forecasting sunny conditions across Dubai and Johannesburg at a maximum of 37 degrees Celsius across Dubai, and sunny intervals across Nairobi, New York and London at a maximum of 26 degrees Celsius across Nairobi. Thanks for tuning on UBC. My name is Tessa Mili. Stay tuned and see you tomorrow.
Water gives life. Water is life. But not all water is created equal. Refresh yourself with the new quality Nirvana packaged drinking water and fuel you and your passion to go further in life.
Visit a shop near you and grab a 250 ml at 500 shillings, 500 ml at 1000 shillings, 1.5 liters at 2000 shillings, or the 20-liter jumbo bottle at 19,000 shillings. Nirvana is a product of Crown Beverages Limited, the makers of Pepsi products.
Hey, it's time to play. Let's go! We're glad you came. Because we love to share. Let's have some fun. What should we try next? With everyone. Because we love to learn together. Making new friends forever. Sesame Street friends.
Super Soul Sisters, and we're here yet again for another amazing episode, and with me is a lovely woman. I must say I'm really honored to have gotten to know her, and of course we're going to get to know her more together. We're here at Daughter Explosive. My name is Rowena Kajumba. Our Super Soul sister, Joyce Moriku Kadichu. Did I say it correctly this time?
Very.
Thank you so much. And she is here before, I'm saying Joyce Moriku Kaduchu before putting the honorable, of course she's now an honorable, but because we're here to know who Joyce is before the honorable came to happen. You're very welcome.
Thank you so much. Yes. It gives me great honor and pleasure to be here today to speak about Joyce. The Joyce who is sitting right before you. She's a very humble girl who hailed from a very humble background to where she is.
Yes.
And I'm so privileged and thankful to God because it is by the grace of God, by His providence, by His blessings that I am here. This Joyce you are seeing sitting right before you hailed from Moyo district. She was born 53 years ago, and she studied from a very remote primary school. At one time, she was studying under a tree, and she completed her primary living in a very humble primary school in a district that is called Moyo.
Indeed. So before we get into the school aspect, who are you born to?
My parents are basically all from, my father comes from Moyo, my mother comes from Germany, and I'm married in actually land.
So you stay
So
home.
I am a Ugandan.
That is very true. So how many were you? Do you have any
So
siblings
basically, I come from a family that a father who has gotten married to more than one woman. My mother was the first wife, and my mother gave birth to 4 children. I happens to be the firstborn, and firstborn of 3 girls, including myself, and 1 boy.
But firstborn is a hard role, eh?
Yes, firstborn is a blessing. And my other stepmothers have equally given birth to other children, and I must say that we are sisters and brothers. And we are so privileged to be brought up in that polygamous family because I've got to learn a lot. I've got to grow up in a very big family.
Yes.
And that is what made me what I am today. As far as my family background is concerned, that is typically me. I was born of a parent, mother, who was basically a housewife. She didn't go far with her academic studies. I was born of a father who, of course, had a medical background.
Yes.
And eventually, he joined the armed force.
As a medical personnel?
He was a medical personnel, but at the end of it, he was a UPDF.
Okay.
And he retired at the rank of a lieutenant.
Okay.
He went back home. That was in early 2000. And of course, my sisters and brothers are all alive.
That's good.
We are basically a family of health-related profession.
Oh.
2 doctors in the family and a nurse. And we have a teacher. We have 2 teachers. We have agricultural profession and other profession in the family.
So the sciences just run
the
through the
science is
blood.
basically strongly rooted in our family.
Okay.
Yes.
So growing up, having a father who is a medical personnel, of course in time changed and went into the UPDF, and a housewife for a mother, how was that like? What
Yes,
did you
it was
get
it
from
was
that?
so good, but what is very typical of me was we grew up from a relatively really a poor family. My family was not well to do. But of course, my father was a learned man. He went to join the armed force. But all the same, with my mother and the other sibling, we really grew up in a typically a village life. I went to a village school, studied in a primary in a village school, and after that, the war came in. We had to take refuge in South Sudan.
Okay, so I'll take you back. You're being a bit general now. When does your father join the army? Are you still young?
I cannot remember.
Before primary school?
But I cannot remember. What I can recall very well is he was initially in the army, of course.
Oh, even when you were younger,
yes,
primary
when
school?
we were a little bit younger, but most of the time we were in the village. But when we came back, that was when the NRM took over power. My father had to get back. That was the
From
time
exile,
he was full-time in the UPDF. And for us, the children and the mother, we are back home.
Yes. So, primary school, you've not yet, there's no war yet?
Yes, that is true.
Like? Tell us your school and your experience.
My school was so beautiful for me at that time.
Yes.
It was such a beautiful school because we walk to school on
Yes, with
foot.
your friends and sisters.
There are streams you have to cross, you have to go to school with your sister. You know how beautiful it was. We did not have bicycle to take us, not even motorcycles, but we are so happy. We studied under very difficult situations by that time because at one point I recall my classroom was under a tree, and we had a big stone that was designated as the blackboard. And those of us who were there, you get a stone, sit on it comfortably, and that was your desk.
And listen to it.
And that was my classroom. Eventually, as we progress, when you go to a classroom, the classroom was a grass-thatched classroom.
That's now after improving
improving the infrastructure. But now the school is so beautiful, of course. But I loved it at that time. So I studied under that situation. I managed to pass. And I went to a secondary school. I thought probably it will be a little bit better. It was, I think, even worse than what it was in the primary school. Because we are the pioneers. That was, I completed my O-level in 1988. So 1985, 86, I was in senior 2. So it was a school that was just barely starting. And we're in the pioneer class. When you look at it, it wasn't easy at all because they had to improvise a place where we had to sleep along the trading centers. Then you walk almost 2 kilometers to the classroom. You had to get back to where to sleep. You walk to attend classroom.
So the school used to do that for you?
It was basically one of the primary schools that was being converted into secondary school. So for them it was a new school. We were just pioneers. We are trying to start a new school. That is Meto Senior Secondary School. And there was no such a school that is secondary at that time. We had to study in a primary school and then sleep at the trading center in those shops. There were old shops designated for dormitory.
Oh, really?
Yes. Then you walk back, you come back, you walk back. We didn't have that typical life of a secondary school because we did not have dormitories. Because of that, you have to sleep down on the floor.
On the floor.
You put a mat and you sleep. We did not have mattresses at that time. There are no dinings. Of course, we have one of the shops was designated for cooking. You serve your food and you eat happily. And we didn't have laboratory, I recall. For us to do laboratory practicals, we have to go to Moyo Senior Secondary School, which is a little bit, some few kilometers, you walk to that. There were no library to assess practical lessons. There were no libraries. You need to get a way of getting information. We depend on the teachers. And we didn't have the lamps that these days you see, the solars, the electricity that our students have. We use the ordinary original light, the ones in a tin where you pour paraffin, then you...
And then there's a, what's that called?
you should
turn it for it
yes,
to go. Oh, okay.
absolutely. Not the other one with the glass. The
okay.
one in a tin.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that is our source of light for reading. And I think the most important thing is that despite all those challenges, God was in the center of our studies. We form an association of young Christian associations, associations that bring students together. We try to share common knowledge. We read about the Bible, we pray, we sing, and that kept us united. Yes. It kept us together to achieve a common goal. And I think that was our strength.
You had mentioned you had 3 parts of life.
Yes, I have 3 parts of life.
And that's like the second one now.
This is the first part of the life. The first village girl, that village girl who studied in a village school and completed O-level. When I completed O-level in 1988, that was way back, many years back, because we trusted in the Lord, we kept together despite the hardship, and we completed. And that opened a way for me, a calling to a different vocation. And I was so passionate about the love of God, serving God in a different arena. And that is when I joined the religious life after my senior 4.
Let me ask you this. Even when it was so difficult to find a lab, you had to walk, you insisted and kept going and still did sciences, did you?
O-level we did general. Of course, I did well in sciences. Despite all that, I passed well. But the critical thing here, when I was in O-level, 1, God was the center of our life. Number 2, we had a goal to achieve. I looked at my father, I look at those ahead of me who are medical personnel. I feel personally I must strive and become one. Despite all the poverty, we are born in poverty, we grew up in poverty, does not mean that we cannot achieve our goals. It could not deter our desire to become what we want to be. After that first stage of life, I went to another phase of life.
A group of girls to worship and pray.
Yes. And so that kept my faith. That kept my zeal. And all through the secondary life or level, I had that zeal to go and serve God,
so were you
to
the one
enter the religious life.
I would assume you're leading this group.
Yes, I was. I was a leader in that group. Because I felt the devotion, dedication. So when I joined the religious congregation, that was the Sisters of Sacred Heart of Jesus.
Now, in A-level?
After O-level.
Yes.
I joined the congregation of the Sisters of Sacred Heart of Jesus. And I had to go through the process of formation.
So you were about to become a nun?
1989, I was a postulant, because that is a stage that you need to go through formation.
Yes.
You need to read a lot. It's really a school of its own. You have to attend classes. You have to do what it takes to become what you want to become. You don't see just the nuns there, it's not automatic. They have to go through formation. And the formation involves a lot of learning, a lot of mentorship, a lot of counseling. And you have to discover yourself. You have to discover the will of God for you. You have to discover the purpose of God for you in your life and what you want to become. So that is the process you go through.
So how did you decide to do this?
So 89, I have to go through that. Of course, you have to be in the convent. I was in the convent.
How did you decide to because it's one thing to have a group of friends, you go ahead.
It's a calling, it's a vocation inside you. You know, the process is that you apply, you feel a will of God for you. You apply in the congregation, and after my O-level, I had to go full time.
That's what you wanted?
That is what was God planned for me.
Okay.
after
your
the
parents
first
at this
stage,
point?
yes, my parents had consented, but my father was not really
was not
fully.
quite.
So when I finished 89, the postland stage, I had to join novitiate for 2 good years. You have to stay for 2 years in the novitiate. That is the formation stage. And it's like you have nothing to do with the world. You have to be in the school of formation. Nothing to do like academic studies, nothing to do like going home, nothing to do like working. You are there to discover the will of God, the purpose of your purpose of existence. Why are you existing? Why did you want to choose that vocation? So after that intensive 2 years, I realized that time God says yes. If God is for you, nobody can say no. And in 1992, I took my first vow to become a religious nun.
Oh, wow.
And that is the vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. You vow to be obedient, you vow poverty, you vow chastity. Poverty in spirit. In
spirit, yes.
And of course, poverty of sharing resources you have with your brothers and sisters in the community. And you have to be obedient to your superiors, to people with whom you work. And you must be chaste, meaning that no marriage, no marriage.
I would assume you would be like, I am not going to.
And that is why the canon law for the religious life is clear.
You have to
don't.
want
You take a vow for a period, a temporal vow. It helps you to make a decision, to discover yourself before you take the final vows. After some period of the year, 6 years and above, but not up to some level, you must have decided and take final. Once you have taken final vow, that is now for life or death. You just stayed there. So I haven't taken final vows. I was still under temporal vows.
Oh, the first vows you took were temporal vows.
I lived for 6 years as a religious nun.
Oh, wow.
And after all that period, after taking my first vow, I was assigned to work with the missionaries, the Comboni missionaries, to do pastoral work. And I enjoyed it. It was so good. I don't regret. It nurtured me to be what I am today. Yes. It's something that many have not lived unless you are a nun.
Yes.
But I feel happy because it made me what I am today. I worked in the pastoral experience, very many things with the community, with the different groups, and after some years, it was a good experience, really.
Yes.
I feel so much that period was a very good period because I moved to the community to teach, to train the children, catechumen, the altar boys, the altar servers. I work with the choirs, I work with the different groups in the church. And what is very important is I worked with the children, the orphans. So that is something that has really nurtured me, to be humble, to be people-centered service delivery person. And after that experience, there my experience tells me, go back for O-level. And that is what obedience is all about.
The nuns, and they told you to go and study.
Absolutely. I had to go for A-level after 6 years of being out of school. That is second chance.
Oh, wow.
And I went to Sacred Heart Secondary School, that was in Igulu. After 6 years of being out of school, now you come back for A-level, and I was offering PCB. I wanted to become a doctor.
Wow.
So it wasn't easy. You are studying with the girls who have just finished senior 4, who are fresh.
Yes.
And you are there.
You have to readjust.
And you are there, you have to learn. You know, it takes a lot of humility, really. It takes a lot of self-acceptance.
So did it take a lot to adjust from what you've been learning or doing for the last 6 years into the environment of, I've come to do my A-level and get probably my certificate and things like that and learn with the rest of the students?
No, I think, you see,
people have different
in
values
life,
when you're in
once
school.
you've set a goal, once you have a dream, you have a vision, you
Yeah.
work towards that vision.
Yes, that's true.
I think I like to accepted that I've been out of school for 6 years. I've come back to school. I'm not any better than these young girls who have just finished O-level yesterday. The best is to work together in humility. And to discuss together. And yet I was doing PCB, and yet I want to become a doctor. So that is really a second chance in life.
In life.
So I studied, and surprisingly, I was excelling.
Oh, wow, because I was about
And
to
at the
ask,
end of
you know,
it,
when
I
you've
went for
taken
medicine on government scholarship. I worked hard.
Yes.
But also, I was humble, knowing my background, where I came from, and where I want to go. So that molded me and made me to concentrate and focus on my studies.
Indeed.
And the funny bit of it is, I think that time God said, many are called, few are chosen. When I finished with my exam, I said, oh, my superiors, I think I just want to go. And my father was also, wow, this girl should come back home. And that was the time when I had to take away the veil, and I took it to my superiors, and I had to recollect myself again as another girl who was previously the poor girl from the village.
Now, of course, quite interesting on how life takes its different turns. She started off with wanting something different, ended up in another, and said, I think I should go back. But of course, at that particular time. So anything can change at a particular time. It's good to have dreams too, but it's also, you know, sometimes the winds blow you in different directions. We'll be back. We're still here on Super Soul Sisters. Remember, we are Dotash exclusive here at Ginger Road. You check out the place at Spear House. It's beautiful, beautiful furniture. I must tell you, Honorable Kaduchu has given me quite something to think about. You know, so many times we have this saying in this country that you must be connected. Yes, to get somewhere. She's just given you her story of her class being under a tree, her desk being a couple of blocks of stones, yes, to going to a school where she had to sleep in a shop, walk to the school, look for a lab. Now, we'll be back with a whole lot more, because now, I thought she was going to be a nun, but such is life. Let's come back. And we are back here with Honorable Kaduchu, Joyce, Moriko. I know all of them now. And of course, she's been telling us, you know, the whole time I was thinking, okay, so she's being a nun, yes. And then along the way, of course, when she goes back to school, now do not lose hope. 6 years away from school, she comes back and says, I will continue to study. Now, whatever reason you have there, a few months back, we were talking about young girls and teenage pregnancies, and should they go to school, should not they? Are we going to go that one? She's in the right, in the right area, being a state minister for primary education, right? You put aside the veil. What caused this?
Well, I think many are called, but few are chosen.
Yes.
I must agree that I was among the many who are called. But after discovering the purpose of my existence, the purpose of life for me, and the plans that God has for me, I thought I could not continue because I'll be deceiving myself. I pray over that. I discuss with my superiors, with my colleagues, and I think they also accepted that, yes, if that is the will of God for you, fine. And I left. I left in a very good way. Up to now, I feel part of them. Whenever I go to the religious house, wherever a congregation of the sisters, I feel part of them because they are my colleagues. I lived a religious life, community life. I lived together. I shared with them. So I still part of them. And after my first degree, I had to work with the AIDS support organization for a period of 2 years. And I came back for masters.
Oh, wow.
By the time I came for masters, I'd already joined Gulu University as a lecturer. And then I finished my masters. I went back and I lectured in the Department of Pediatric and Child Health, and I enrolled for a postgraduate diploma. Yes, I did that. But also I had to do my PhD. So from a very humble background, studying under the tree, hailing from a very poor background,
to not just
did not
being
deter
doctor.
me from achieving my my dream. Not a medical doctor alone, but also a PhD doctor.
Yes. So speaking of that, you've done successfully well. Now, you choose to go and do medicine, general medicine, or you along the ways when you choose or select what you want to do?
When you go for medicine, you first do the first degree, MBCHB. Yes. That is general medicine, the first degree, which is general. After some years, then you discover what exactly you want to do, where your interest is. My interest was to be a gynecologist. I wanted to be a gynecologist, and that was my passion for women, to be a gynecologist, and I loved it. But I realized along the way, the interest changed. I got more passion for children, the mother and the baby. I said, but these are not different beings. The mother cannot be detached from the baby. So let me study pediatric and child health and specialize in pediatrics and go with the baby. When the mother brings the baby, I treat the baby. I also have a conversation with the mother. I can attend to the health of the mother.
Where did you go for your medicine school?
Mbarara University of Science and Technology. My second degree was in Makerere University. I did masters in pediatric and child health. And I did a postgraduate diploma in project and management.
Project planning?
Yes.
Okay.
Then I did my PhD with the funding from Germany Resource Foundation. I'm very grateful to the government of Germany. I collaborated with the Munich University in the sandwich program, registered in Gulu University, but working with university in Germany, Munich University. My supervisor from Munich University, Professor Andrea, very grateful ever, because they fully funded my PhD. It was quite expensive study, but I completed it. And when I completed, another voice in me says, go and serve your people in the political arena.
Before we get into that, you went into the pediatrics at this point because you've realized this is what you really like. And there's a background on when you were hopefully going to be a nun.
Actually, I spent in the religious house 3 years in the formation house, because 1 year was postulancy, 2 years was novitiate, then 6 years after profession. Those are 9 years.
Those are 9, yes.
But while I was still in O level, you know, when you're an aspirant, you keep close contact. You come visit the convent, you get back. You visit the convent, you get back. I was already an aspiring to become a nun.
So the background here is you've always loved to work in the community with the children.
Yes, with the children, with the orphans. I worked with the orphans, with the children. So that has been a passion. So even with many groups of children, those ones in the association, up to now, they still remember that I had a passion for children.
What do you remember really? Were you notorious in school? In any way or form? Because from what I gather, I don't think so.
No, I wasn't notorious. In school, I can remember very well because of this religious affiliation. I was already in touch with the religious, the convent, the congregation, and I was one of the leaders in Christian movement in schools, the YCS. And of course, the girls knew me, passion for that.
Yes.
Talking about always preaching the gospel and knowing that after here I'm going to the convent. I was one person who was well disciplined and humble, but what was very peculiar about me, I recall very well, is that determination to be what I want to be. Yes. That is in me. If I want something, I work for it to get there.
Yes. So what got you, again, most people will say, she gave back the veil because probably she met someone.
No, that was not there.
Because now you're like, I think I'm better off if I was a doctor.
No, I left the veil before I went to university.
Oh, okay.
I think I had
Before
a lot
you
of pressure
finished
from
school.
my family. A lot of pressure from my family, especially my father.
Yes.
I was the firstborn. And of course, a mother who was struggling. During holidays, we brew alcohol together with my mother. We walk a very long kilometers with my
that was a
mother
problem for
to
you.
buy probably food on foot.